Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome along to round 5 of the 2020 EuroNASCAR Esports Series. As the world is starting to get back towards normal racing, well, we've got some exciting esports action for you coming up. Round 5 of the championship, as I said, but more importantly, it's the semi-finals, which means it's double championship points. So we're here on the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit this time. We were here earlier on in the championship season on the Indy circuit, but the drivers get to stretch their legs a little bit more around this 2.4 or 3.9 kilometre circuit, a circuit which can trace its roots back to the 1920s. Car racing started here in the 1950s. Of course, it was home to British Grand Prix. It was also the circuit which saw Ayrton Senna have his first ever race. But more importantly, it's been the home of the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series UK round since 2011. So we're really looking forward to seeing how the drivers get on for what is a very important evening. The format for the evening, well, the drivers will all head out into qualifying shortly. And if you qualify on pole position, then you will take up, if you qualify fastest, you will take up pole position for heat number 1. If you're second quickest, you'll head towards pole position for heat number 2. If you're third quickest, you'll head towards pole for heat number 3. Each driver has a 10-minute heat in which they will race. Only the top 10 from each of those heats, i.e., 30 will go through automatically to the main championship race. If you qualify outside of the top 10 in your heats when you take the checkered flag, you're not over for the evening. You head into the last chance qualifying race, and only the top 6 from that will go through to take up the final 3 rows of the grid on our main championship race. And remember, as I say, it is double points here this evening, which means it's not 40 points for a race win. As it's the semi-finals, it's 80 points for a race win. So the championship, you could argue, whilst it's past its halfway point in the numbers of rounds that we've got, if you look at the points accumulation, what's already been scored to what's available to be scored, we're not even halfway through as yet. You can certainly lose the championship with a bad round when it's double points. And we'll look forward to see as to who comes out on top on the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. The last few minutes of the free practice session are taking place. So let's have a quick look at what's going on in terms of the championship. Well, Lasse Sorensen, the reigning EuroNASCAR 2 champion, leads the EuroNASCAR Esports Series by 10 points from Jeffrey Ruffin. Lasse scoring his first outright win in the main race just last weekend at Indianapolis. Jeffrey Ruffin is second, and his Hendricks Motorsport teammate, Loris Hazemans, sits there third. Loris is the reigning EuroNASCAR Pro champion from last year. Andre Castro, the quick American for DF1 Racing, means that it's only 2 teams with drivers inside the top 4. Tobias Dauenhauer is also another Hendricks driver. He sits there in 5th place, ahead of Ulysse Delceau, the former EuroNASCAR 2 champion, in 6th place. Watch out for Alan Day, the double former champion, is down in 8th in the championship season. And Bavo Fallon for PK Carsport has gone particularly well over the course of this year. He sits there in 12th position, looking to try and gain ground. But as I say, it's all about making sure in the semi-finals you score good points. And those points are only available in the main championship race. There are no points available for the heats. There are no points available in the last chance qualifier either. Well, we're having a bit of free practice that is still going on. There's not too long to go in the free practice session, or qualifying session actually, that's underway, I ought to say. And Andre Castro at the moment in the early stages of qualifying has popped towards the top of the times. It's a short and a sharp qualifying session. It's only 10 minutes or 2 flying laps in reality for these drivers is all that they're able to post over the course of this session. And as we look at the number 99 car, that is a driver that we've seen a lot of in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series over the last few years. It's the 22-year-old American for DF1 Racing, Justin Kuntz, looking to see what he might be able to do over the course of this lap. The first sector's not looking that great for him, however. I think Bavo Fallon is on a quick lap, so he could well be one that might head towards the top of the times. At the moment, though, it's Andre Castro that is quickest. Jeffrey Ruffin is second quickest. Joining us in the championship for this evening is Pablo Lopez, who is third quickest. Now, Pablo Lopez is driving the Circuit Ricardo Tormo Fordzilla Ford here this evening. Pro sim racer, started sim racing back in 2007, has won both national and international championships. So we would expect him to go well. We would also expect car number 420 to go well as well, which is Michael Smidl, another professional esports racer. So clock ticking down, less than half of the qualifying session to go. Here's Tobias Dauenhauer just making his way out onto the circuit, lying 5th in the championship standings. He's gone 4th quickest in the early stages of this one. Lasse Sorensen has completed a lap. There was a spin briefly for Alessandro Bugatti, I think that was, that had an issue. That looked like it was heading around Paddock Hill Bend, which is a blind entry. Heading up towards it now, very sideways indeed, is Santa Vauxatorium, and he goes straight off, misses the apex. The car went sideways as he turned in towards Paddock Hill Bend, which is absolutely a blind entry. You really can't perhaps appreciate, even on iRacing, just how blind that entry is, as we now get a bird's eye view of what was the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, with now just, 3 minutes of this qualifying session to go. Santa Vauxatorium, Scandinavian V8 Thundercar driver who came through the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series recruitment program, racing for DF1 Marco Steep Motorsport at the wheel of his Chevy, has been doing some good things really over the course of the season, and we'll hope that he can grab some more championship points. He grabbed his first points last week at Indianapolis on the road course that we had there. Starting to accelerate on to the Grand Prix circuit, so they're going past us now. Starting to head downhill is Lorenzo Marcucci, onto the brakes in towards what is Hawthorne Bend, then down the Derek Minter Straight and in towards Westfield Bend, where the circuit drops away. As soon as you grab the apex, the circuit then really starts to fall away, as you can see, down in towards Dingledale, up towards Sheen Curve. Blind entry for this one, onto the brakes, pitch the car into the corner. Only then do you see the apex and know whether you've got it right. Very easy to run wide on the exit of that corner. Onto the brakes, in towards the left-hander at Stirling's, and from there it's down the straight and up towards Clark Curve, which is the final corner here at Brands Hatch on the Grand Prix circuit. And it looks as though it's not a bad lap so far from Marcucci. The car just drifting and starting to slide away from him as he went in towards the right-hander. And where is this going to put Lorenzo Marcucci? Currently 27th quickest. And as he heads over the start-finish line, by the look of things, he will remain 27th quickest. So no improvement there from him. There was a quick spin as well. That was car number 299 that had the quick spin, which is Alain Mouscron, another driver that we've seen go particularly well over the course of the sports season. Chris Lehman, who is within the media team for Marco Steep Motorsport, scored his first championship points last time out at Indianapolis. Where can he manage to propel himself to? Currently 24th quickest. Maran Kramers could be another one that could go well, actually, Maran Kramers. You see he's 15th quickest at the moment, 1.4 seconds away from the provisional pole time of Andre Castro, who certainly likes the Brands Hatch circuit here, Andre Castro. He won his heat when we were here on the Indy circuit earlier on in the season. He has been a pole sitter here in the 2019 NASCAR Whelen Euro Series in the EuroNASCAR 2 division when we raced for real last time on the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. He heads the times at the moment, but we continue to look at Maran Kramers round through Hawthorne, down the Derek Minter Straight, and then let's see what he might be able to do to try and carve his way further up through the order from what is 15th position currently. Through Dingledale, up towards the right-hander at Sheen Curve, uses all of the curb. They're beautifully turned in towards that blind entry right-hander, onto the brakes, use all of the curb on the inside, let the car drift wide. There's a bit of a bounce off the curb at the very end at Stirling's, which can unsettle the car, and then onto the brakes, and just make sure you don't dip a wheel onto the grass on the left-hand side. It's so easy to run wide with the tyres on the grass on the left as you come out of Clearways, which is a very, very quick corner or Clark Curve. And as he heads over the start-finish line, looks as though that is it for him. Big spin, that's Giorgio Maggi, who was runner-up in the EuroNASCAR. He's reversing up the circuit up towards Druids Corner. Damage to the front end of his car. I'm not quite sure what he's doing there. Giorgio Maggi, who is currently in 18th position. So checkered flag is out. It looks as though that is it. There are no extra laps. So if you are midway through a lap, you don't get the opportunity to finish off that lap when the checkered flag comes out, the 10 minutes of elapsed. That is it. So it looks as though then in terms of qualifying, Andre Castro qualifies on pole position, so he will go to pole for heat number 1. Jeffrey Ruthven was second quickest. He'll go to pole position for heat number 2. And Pablo Lopez, who joins us driving the Circuit Ricardo Tormo Fordzilla Ford, was third quickest, so he will go to pole position for heat number 3. Tobias Dauenhauer was in 4th place, so that means he'll be on the outside of the front row of the grid for heat number 1. Mikkel Schmidl, who has been an overall main race winner for Autodrome Most, is fifth quickest, so he will be outside of the front row for heat number 2, and outside of the front row for heat number 3 will be Alan Day. Lasse Sorensen, Guillaume de Flandre, Vladimir Tjuitzis, then Alex Fontana wrap up the top 10 ahead of Davide De Lara. Andreas Jukemsen, Bavo, Fallon, Bran Kruls, and Marin Kramers can complete the top 15. Then it's Alessandro Brigatti, Stefano Gustavaglie, Giorgio Maggi, only 18th quickest, work to do there for him. Fabrizio Amata is 19th, and Leonardo Colavita is 20th. You can see all the rest of the runners from there on, but already we've got heat number 1 beginning to grid up for us here this evening at Brands Hatch. And as we await the arrival of all of the cars onto the grid, then we will get the rolling lap underway. Andre Castro on pole position, Tobias Danhauer alongside Lasse Sorensen and Alex Fontana on row number 2, with Bavo Fallon and Alessandro Brigatti on row number 3. Row number 4 is number 41, Fabrizio Amata, and the British driver, number 78, Alex Sedgwick, with the next row of the grid being Alain Mousqueron and Santu Vauxhall. On row number 6, Nave Talor for Solaris Motorsport has one of the Bleaky Molens alongside. Sorry, it's Michael Stolman for Team Bleaky Molen that sits alongside, but already they are off and on the green flag rolling lap. Now it will be a 10-minute heat. Remember, only the top 10 automatically go through to the main championship race. If you're outside of the top 10, you head into the last chance qualifying race and have to see exactly what you might be able to do from there. So the race very shortly is about to get underway. However, joining us in live commentary at this stage, we'll grab a quick word with him now and maybe cut back once the race has got underway for a further chat. It's the managing director of Circuit, Ricardo Tormo, that joins me in live commentary, which is Gonzalo Gerber. Gonzalo, welcome along to the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series Esports Series.
Hello everyone, how are you?
It's great that you're able to join us, and by the look of things, you've managed to get yourself a very quick driver representing the circuit this evening.
Yeah, I think it's Pablo Lopez, no? Competing for Pablo us Lopez this evening. So yeah, we hope he does very well. I think it was very surprising. Nico Lecona also, and Claudio, our marshal, was very good also. And really looking forward to see how Pablo performs, really.
We were due to have been out with you at Circuit Ricardo Tormo at the beginning of the season, but with what's going on in the world, and that's delayed. We will still get to see you and get to enjoy NASCAR around your track later on this year.
Yeah, for sure. 4th, 5th, and 6th December is going to be a final of the final round for the championship, and I hope it's going to be very good. December weather in Spain is very mild sometimes, especially not in Spain, in Valencia, and I really hope all this virus and all this thing clears out and we can have a perfect race with public. Hopefully.
Well, we'll get the race underway. Stay with us, Gonzalo. Don't go anywhere. But the cars are just heading up towards the start-finish line. We'll get the race underway, and then we'll come back and have another quick chat. Remember, Andre Castro sitting there on pole position. Tobias Dallenhauer sitting alongside. Andre Castro looking to try and grab a win if he can. He won his heat at Daytona. He won his heat last time here at Brands Hatch, but that was on the Indy circuit. Red lights on, red lights go out. It's a great start from Andre Castro in pole position up towards Paddock Hill Bend for the first time, and Lasse Sorensen is going to slot himself through into second place ahead of Tobias Dallenhauer, who's there in third. There's contact further back, and by the look of things, I think Alain Mousqueron got tangled up with several other cars there. I saw his car sideways in the middle of the circuit. It looks as though he's not the only one as well. Michael Stolman has also got tangled up, and Santu Vauxhall have all tumbled down towards the tail end of the field. But Andre Castro leads from Lasse Sorensen and Tobias Dallenhauer. Alessandro Brigatti is there in 4th place, but he's under pressure from that car there. Alex Sedgwick, as we go on board with the British driver, in 5th position. Fantastic V8 engine thunders its way down Pilgrim's Drop and in towards the right-hander at Hawthorne Bend. Gonzalo Gobert still continues to join me in commentary. Gonzalo, we're talking about the driver that you've got behind the wheel this week, which is Pablo GoPro Lopez, to give him his correct name as he's known. But we had one of your circuit marshals driving the car last week, and he went beautifully well.
Yeah, Claudio, our marshals are not only working, in the track, but they are normally very, very fan of motorsports. So I'm not surprised Claudio was performing that well.
I was absolutely gobsmacked. He must have been hugely happy with his performance, Claudio Sabatini, because at one point he had a double former Mexican champion behind him, Ruben Garcia.
Wow, yeah, it's fantastic. It is amazing. You know, I know very well, not very well, but I know Ordóñez, the Spanish driver. And you know, he was before competing in Formula Nissan, blah, 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 even in Japan and in Spain, in GTs, whatever. He was a very good sim racer, you know. Yeah. So this is something, if you are very good in virtual races, you are good also in real races.
I remember seeing Luca Ordóñez racing in the UK and when he was coming through that academy and then going on to race in things like Le Mans and things as well. So a quick replay of some of the action. That was Bavo Fallon that got tagged into a spin there by the look of things and dropped down into 14th position. Final quick question for you, Gonzalez, before we let you go. The NASCAR Whelen Euro Series, it's always a pleasure to go to Circuit Ricardo Tormo. Your fans enjoy what is a very different event, a very unique event, a family event when we head to you.
Well, it is, and it's with this American flavor, you know, it works always. And I always say it's my second favorite event during the year. First is MotoGP, but then it's the NASCAR. And for sure we will, you know, in this dodgy or strange year we are experiencing, this is going to be a relief to have the NASCAR again with us and full of people, I hope.
Well, it's lovely to chat to you. We need to up our game a bit because we want to be your favourite event. So we'll see what we can do to try and displace MotoGP.
Yeah, we will try. We will push hard.
Thank you, Gonzalez.
Thanks very much. Bye. Thank you.
There we go. Fred Gabillon has a rotating Alain Mouscaron directly ahead of him. Now that means that Mouscaron now, with that spin, has dropped out of the automatic qualification places. He is now down in 11th position by the look of things. So work to be done here. I'm not quite sure what happened. He just seemed to get on the power. The car sort of started to wiggle around on the grass, and from then there was a full rotation, but that is enough to drop him from automatic qualification down into 11th place, which is one place off, automatically going through to the main event. Looking at the battle for the lead of the race, Andre Castro continues to lead from Lasse Sorensen in second place, Tobias Dauenhauer in third position. So it's a DF1 Racing 1-2 at this stage, with Hendricks Motorsport being in third and fourth position. It's a Feedvict Racing car, that of Alessandro Brigatti, that's there in fifth, and Brax Racing have got Alex Sedgwick there in sixth position. But we are now heading towards the halfway point of this race. Andre Castro last time through set the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 27.21 from him. That was just 7/100ths of a second quicker than Lasse Sorensen, who in turn was only 3/100ths of a second quicker than Tobias Dauenhauer. So the top three are all matching themselves for pace as we go on board with Tobias Dauenhauer downhill up towards the braking area for Druids, the highest part of the circuit here at Brands Hatch. You head through the right-hand hairpin, downhill into the braking area for Graham Hill Bend. Very easy to run wide on the exit because you're braking downhill into that corner. All of the drivers using all of the curbs, but no more than that. There's been a couple of off-track warnings that have come in so far. Loris Hazeman's has had 2 warnings for going off-track. Alessandro Brigatti has had 2 as well. Alex Sedgwick just the 1. But certainly for the top 3 drivers, Andre Castro, Lasse Sorensen and Tobias Dauenhauer, they have continued to stay within the circuit limits. Let's have a quick look at what happened to Gasper Donovsek here. Runs wide, coming out of the corner. Then there's contact between himself and Alain Mouscaron, and for the second time, Alain Mouscaron is turned around. Bavo Fallon manages to drive between those 2 errant cars and stays out of harm's way. Simon Palat, a driver, again, who's been with us all season, has Simon going beautifully well. Just 18 years of age is Simon, the Belgian driver, who finished as a semi-finalist in Feedvict Racing's 2019 selection process. He's going to have to work hard here. He's got the battered car of Alex Fontana sitting right behind him. Huge amounts of experience for Alex Fontana. He is, 27 years of age now. His single-seater career saw him up to GP3 and Formula Renault 3.5 and Formula 2 briefly. But nowadays he's the test driver for 42 Racing and is pushing the youngster hard. Into the pit lane comes Alex Sedgwick. So Alex Sedgwick into the pit lane. Now that is going to drop him down through the order. That must have been some sort of penalty that was applied. Yes, stop and go penalty for causing a collision with Bavo Fallon is the information that I'm getting. So that was why Bavo Fallon was pitched into a spin, hence why Alex Sedgwick was given a drive-through penalty. This is a great fight for 8th and 9th position at this stage. Simon Palat working hard, trying to keep Alex Fontana behind him. Despite the damage to the front end of Alex Fontana's car, he's going well, and he's going for the place by the look of things. Up the inside at Surtees, is going to work his way through up into 8th position. Simon Palat down into 9th, but remember the top 10 automatically go through at this stage. So in 10th place is Fabrizio Amata, but his car is carrying damage and is under huge pressure from Bavo Fallon. So this is for the final automatic qualification place with just 3 minutes to go. Can the PK Carsport Chevy manage to work its way through and ahead of the number 41 of Fabrizio Amata at the wheel of the Club Motorsport Chevy? You can see damage to the back end of Amata's car, damage to the front end of it as well. Now he will be struggling with that. A driver who's been driving within the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series since 2013, has a big spin heading up towards Sterling's. The tail end of the car cries enough, and he's not able to get the car pointing around in the right direction in time. So Bavo Fallon is able to pick up another spot, and now behind him is the car that's just had the stop-go penalty for pitching Bavo Fallon into the spin in the first place. So Alex Sedgwick is starting to catch up with the car that he made contact with a few laps ago, and that could make it very interesting towards the end of the race, which is now only 2 minutes away. Andre Castro still leading from Lasse Sorensen by half a second, and both those two are starting to just check out a little bit now. So Tobias Dauenhauer has just dropped away. I think he's now focusing his efforts on just making sure he finishes in 3rd place, which will see him right at the sharp end for the 30-minute main championship race, which of course here this evening carries those double championship points. So it's not 40 for a win, it's 80. It's not 35 for second place, it's 70, and you'll get 68 points now rather than the 34 if you finish in 3rd position. All the way down through the order, the points are doubled for this one, including for the driver that gains the most places in the main championship race from starting position to finishing position. You'd usually get 4, you get 8 this evening, and they are all going to be important come the totting up at the end of the season. Andre Castro over the start-finish line. He goes through with 1 minute and 10 seconds to go. So he will now be on to his last lap of the race this time through. And for Andre Castro, he is looking to try and close in on what would be heat win number 2 of the season for him. He won the prologue heat at Daytona on the road course that he was in. He also won his heat here at Brands Hatch last time through, did Andre Castro. He has won a main race, but that was the prologue, so it didn't carry any championship points. So Andre Castro would like to try and score good points tonight. He lies 4th in the championship standings. Leading the championship is this man here, Lasse Sorensen. But he's only 10 points ahead of Jeffrey Ruffin, who's only 2 points ahead of Loris Hazemans, who's only 10 points ahead of Andre Castro. So it's all rather close at the sharp end of the championship. And as I say, with double points available, the championship could turn on its head this evening, potentially. Bavo Fallon running a little bit wide there on that occasion, which did score him an off-track. So just needs to be careful he stays within the confines of the circuit. Too many off-tracks and you'll be given a penalty by race control. But for Andre Castro, it's been a very comfortable drive from him in reality. He's had his teammate behind him, so they were always going to work together and not push each other too hard. But it does look as though Deck Sweat, or DF1 Racing I ought to say, are going to carry on where they left off last week at Indianapolis. Andre Castro is going to claim a win. Lasse Sorensen, his teammate, will finish in 2nd place. Both of those safely through to the main championship race. Tobias Dauenhauer finishes in 3rd place. 4th place should be Loris Hazemans, another one of the Hendricks Motorsport cars that should finish there in 4th position. Ahead of Alessandro Brigatti, who is in 5th place. Henry Tuamala should complete the top 6, but he's being hunted down by Fred Gabion in the closing stages. And who is going to be the last couple of cars? There goes Tuamala over the start-finish line, and I did say he was being hunted down by Fred Gabion. The Toyota not finishing that far behind in the hands of the Frenchman. Simon Palat is going to finish in 9th place, so he's got Alex Fontana ahead of him. He's got Bavo Fallon right behind him. Good recovery drive that from Bavo, having been pitched into a spin. And after Bavo Fallon, everyone thereafter, Alex Sedgwick and Alain Muscaron and Michael Stolman, are all going to have to fight it out in the last chance qualification race. But remember, it's only the top 6 from that race go through, whereas in the heats it's the top 10 that automatically go through. So heat number 1 done and dusted. The cars will make their way back around the circuit, and we will hopefully be able to grab a word with our race winner very shortly. And as we await the arrival into the commentary box of Andre Castro, we can gauge his thoughts on what was another win for him. Confirmation of the results then. It's a 1-2 for DF1 Racing. Andre Castro from Lasse Sorensen with Tobias Dauenhauer in third, and his Hendricks Motorsport teammate Loris Hazemans in fourth place. Alessandro Brigatti, the first home for Feedvict Racing. And it was another DF1 Racing machine of Henry Tuamala who finishes in sixth. Header Fred Gabillon, Alex Fontana, Simon Palat and Bavo Fallon. Those are the 10 automatic qualifiers. Thereafter, Alex Sedgwick, Alan Muscaron, Michael Stolman, Santu Forxatorium, Gasper Donovsik, Nave Talor, Fabrizio Amata and Alessio Bacci are all going to have to head into the last chance qualification race to have one more roll of the dice and see whether they can make it through to the main points scoring race in round 5 of the 2020 EuroNASCAR Esports Series. So heat number 2 is about ready to get going. We are just having a quick look. Andre Castro is not quite ready for us yet, but I can see we haven't as yet this evening got Andre Weigold joining us in commentary, but I can see on commentary, so we might want to have perhaps a quick chat, is Gianluca Guillet, who is there but on mute with me in the commentary box at the moment. So Gianluca, welcome along. I'm not sure where Andre is this evening. I can see he's online, but he's not joined me as yet. Might be having a few tech issues. As usual, usual names towards the front in qualifying, but we've got some quick sim racers, haven't we? Including Mikael Smiddle, who starts on the front row of the grid for this one.
It would be very, very interesting to see how they fare against our usual suspects in the EuroNASCAR Esports Series. I think Andre is a little bit still sore from 7+ hours of commentary last night from the Homestead race.
I did wonder.
Yeah, I think we have Andre Castro. Just let me put him on commentary, and here you have him.
Here we go. Thanks, Gianluca. So we'll grab a quick word with Andre Castro, Heat 1 winner. Andre, congratulations. That is your, if we include the prologue event, that's your 3rd Heat win of the year, but as yet to win the main championship race. You'll be wanting to do that this evening here at Brands. Sorry, Andre, I can't hear you. So you're on mute, Andre. So
you hear me? Oh,
there we go. We've got you now.
You got me? Okay, cool. So I was saying it's going to be pretty important to finish well with double points in effect starting this week. So made sure to get to know the circuit pretty well this past week, and paid off with that lap in qualifying. But yeah, we'll see what happens in the final.
It's all tight at the front end of the championship. I'll let the race get underway and I'll come back and ask you another question, because they're just coming up towards Clearways and Clark Curve now. Remember, it is Jeffrey Rufen and Michael Smiddle that sit there on the front row of the grid. We did see a win for Michael Smiddle. That was at Watkins Glen, where he qualified on pole, won his heat and won the main race. He's not doing the full championship season for Autodrome Moss, but the lights go out and Smiddle actually gets a bit of a poor start. Guillaume de Flandre is able to squeeze his way through and ahead. So Jeffrey Rufen leads, Guillaume de Flandre in 2nd place, Michael Smiddle there in 3rd position, Brian Crowells is there in 4th place, and I think that was Davide De Lara that was all through the gravel trap at Paddock Hill Bend. But other than that, everybody safely through the first couple of corners. Back to Andre Castro. I don't want to hang on to him for too long, but Andre, you were saying points important, even more important when now into the semi-finals. If you have a good night, you can really move yourself into contention in the championship. If you have a bad night, wow, that's going to hurt.
Yeah, exactly. But in the end, we do this for fun, so it's important to just take the pressure off a little bit and do the best that I can, and let everything else fall into place. So it's fun to be doing this layout, because I never really raced this layout in the past too much. But getting to know it's really fast and flowing. So I'm happy that we decided on this track, and it's gonna be a fun race. It's gonna be tough to overtake, so hopefully we'll keep that pole position.
Well, we'll let you go and get ready for your main championship race. So congratulations. Hopefully we'll be chatting to Andre Castro a little bit later on. So back to heat number 2. Michael Smidl had a good look at trying to get past the car of Guillaume de Flandre, but wasn't able to work his magic. So he still sits there in 3rd place currently, trying to close in the Czech driver on the Belgian that lies ahead of him. Quick look at the replay. Ricardo Alita with damage to the front end of his car, heading round through Paddock Hill Bend, all through the gravel, runs wide, back onto the tarmac, but loses yet more time. He's already been involved in something clearly with the damage on the front. De Flandre leading. Now, Jeffrey Ruffin, with this squabble that's going on for 2nd and 3rd, is just being able to pull away at this stage. A Ford leads, a Chevy 2nd, a Toyota 3rd, a Ford 4th, another Chevy in 5th place. So all of the manufacturers mixed up inside the top 5. Michael Smidl, though, would desperately like to try and squeeze the Autodrome Most Show Car Toyota through and ahead of Guillaume de Flandre if he can. For the moment, though, he's just got to be content to sit behind. Here's a battle further down through the order. This is for 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th place. Chris Rickard at the tail end of it, looking to see whether he can close in on Gordon Barnes, Roy Hendricks and Stefano Gustavalier, all of whom are pretty much nose to tail with each other as they head down through Dingle Dell and up into Sheen Curve, where I've actually seen not any cars run wide as yet. It's so easy usually to run wide coming out of Sheen Curve and be all on the grass and into the gravel there, but everybody seems to have just about mastered that. There is damage to the back end of Chris Rickard's car, I can see. And here's another good little fight for 13th, 14th, 15th and 16th place, which is going to be Francisco Garisto, Luca Cagnari, Ruben Garcia and Michael Niemas, all busy squabbling away. Ruben Garcia, fantastic to see him continually join us each week. Ruben Garcia, the 24-year-old Mexican who is twice a NASCAR Pinty Mexican champion, the reigning champion as well, 2018, 2019, in fact 3 times because he won it in 2015 as well. He was a NASCAR Stock V6 champion back in 2011. He raced in the eNASCAR series as well over at Texas Speedway virtually when that series was taking part earlier on. But he's involved in this great little fight as we go back to the fight for 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th place. Roy Hendricks being kept very busy indeed, team manager for Hendricks Motorsport, who has gone well all season so far in this championship. But whilst he's been at the front, Roy Hendricks, he's perhaps not scored as many championship points as you otherwise might have thought. He languishes a fair way down in terms of the championship standings, down in 48th in the championship standings. He's just not quite had the luck, but he's been quick as Roy Hendricks generally throughout the course of this season. And he is at the moment under pressure from Gordon Barnes and Chris Rickard, with Ulysse Delceau also now starting to catch on to the tail end of that train. The young Frenchman at the wheel of the number 10 car for RDV competition, still only 22 years of age, is Ulysse Delceau. He was the 2018 EuroNASCAR 2 champion, and he's looking to try and work his way through and past Chris Rickard there, but that's not quite going to work. So Chevy from Chevy, still the grey car of Rickard, under pressure from the young Frenchman. Has he got the inside line? No, just covered off there by the Brax racing machine of Chris Rickard. So still, Ulysse Delceau has to settle for what is 11th place, and remember, it's only the top 10 that go through, so that's why Chris Rickard is so keen on trying to hang on to the position. Gordon Barnes is just escaping up the road as a result of this fight for 10th and 11th places. We've still got half of the race to go as well, almost, so 5 minutes and 15 seconds in. And you can see the tail end of the car wagging there as Chris Rickard really tried to apply the power as much as he could. Ulysse Delceau's picking up the toe, but he's just too far away as they head up in towards the daunting right-hander at Hawthorne. Slightly banked entry to that corner, which really hooks the car in towards the apex. A good run down the Derek Minter straight, almost pushing the Brax machine ahead as they head round through Westfield Bend and then start to descend downhill through Dingle Dell and up towards Sheen Curve once more. So they're on lap number 4 currently. The grey car, Chris Rickard hanging on to the final qualification place, but there's problems ahead by the look of things, and Roy Hendricks and Gordon Barnes must have got together, which means that all of a sudden that has changed the order. So Chris Rickard now is up into 8th position, Ulysse Delso is up into 9th, and Davide Dallara, car number 189, is now into 10th place. So all 3 of these cars are now in the position of automatic qualification, whereas a few moments ago it was only Chris Rickard that was, and he loses the tail end heading around through Paddock Hill Bend. A little bit of turning oversteer, had to correct it midway through the corner, drops down from 8th, not to 9th, but down to 10th position as Ulysse Delso and Davide Dallara both capitalise on that very, very small mistake there. Let's have a look, see what happened here. Well, Roy Hendricks got very sideways coming out of Sheen Curve, went all through the gravel, and I think Gordon Barnes was sort of distracted by that and had a spin. I didn't see there was any contact between the pair of them there. I think they sort of both had their own individual accidents, but probably for Gordon Barnes, it's a result of being distracted. Here's Jeffrey Ruffin under pressure from Mikael Smiddle, who is looking to try and get the overlap. They really have closed up over the course of the last few laps. 3 minutes to go. Jeffrey Ruffin leading the race at this stage, then makes another small mistake heading around through Sheen Curve, which allows Mikael Smiddle to close up right the way alongside him. Joining me in live commentary with a couple of laps to go is Alex Sedgwick, the British driver. Alex, great to have you back with us here again. You've been a busy man with esports during this period of time, haven't you?
Yeah, just a bit. I obviously doing all of these and setting up my own series as well through my company, Vertex, which we've been running with the NASCAR Xfinity cars on mainly ovals. So I've had a bit of variety, and obviously it's kept me nice and busy while I was at home, or while I'm still at home, which has been it's been good. It's difficult now that things get busier and busier. It means I get no practice in at all, but yeah, it's good fun.
I've been looking in on your series as well, and there's a few familiar names in there, the likes of Ben Kriener and Brian Cruels. So there's a few that are like yourself doing both the EuroNASCAR Esports Series and other things.
Yeah, definitely. It's we're into the second season now actually of it. So we've run 2 series or 2 seasons in the past 2-3 months. But yeah, we've managed to have a good grid of drivers from NASCAR fans, marshals, guys, sim racers, all the way to, like you say, Brian, Ben Kriener, myself, and a few guys from touring cars as well. We had sort of Adam Morgan, Dan Rowbottom, actually come and see what they think of NASCAR as well. So it's been cool, and especially for Adam and Dan, those kind of people that obviously I've known in my sort of previous TOCA life, to kind of show them what NASCAR's all about. It's been good fun.
Do you think we can perhaps bend some arms and get them on some of the recruitment days, and maybe they could join the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series grid?
It'd be great. I think there's definitely, everyone I speak to, whether they're from touring cars, GTs, karting, whatever it might be, they're super interested in NASCAR. They've probably been watching a lot of NASCAR in the US in the past couple months as one of the only motorsports that are back up and running. So there's a huge amount of interest for people to come and have a go in the cars and about the series. So I think for sure you'll probably see more and more people from the UK have a go over time, which obviously I'm always pushing them in that direction.
I'll leave you to go. Good luck in the last chance qualification race, because you just missed out, but we're side by side for the lead of the race, and we are on the final lap as well. So Jeffrey Ruffin under enormous pressure over the course of the last few corners on Mikael Smiddle, but at the moment it is just the Ford ahead of the Toyota. Smiddle looks one way, looks the other as they head down the Derek Minter straight up towards Westfield Band. Can he cut back on the exit? Yes, he has, on the run down in towards Dingledale. Mikael Smiddle has been able to squeeze his way through and has now got the inside line and goes through and ahead up towards Sheen Curve. So only 3 corners to go, and Mikael Smiddle has finally unlocked the door to the lead of the race. He might have been third when the lights went out because of the good start from Guillaume de Flandre, but he's fought his way back into second, and he's now fought his way back into the lead of the race for literally the last 30 seconds. So Mikael Smiddle, who has won roughly 50% of all of his races he's ever done on iRacing, comes through to grab the win for himself and for Autodrome Most Car Show. The Toyota going well. It's the Ford that finishes in second place of Jeffrey Ruffin and Guillaume de Flandre in third. Stefano Gustavalle heading over the start-finish line. He will finish in ninth place and looks as though he is just going to seal his fate automatically through into the main championship race. So he will be rather pleased with that, one of the team members for Cal Racing. And Chris Ricard will pick up the final automatic qualification spot. But here's the replay. So Smiddle, Jeffrey Ruffin just got sideways, didn't he? Heading through Westfield Bend from that camera angle, you could see what happened as the tail end of the car cried enough, and that was just enough to open the door for Michael Smiddle to go through and grab the victory. He will be hugely, hugely pleased with that, will Michael Smiddle. It's only the second evening that we've seen him out with us, because he has been not committed to the full season because we've had different drivers in all of the circuit cars, whether it be Ricardo Tormo, the Hockenheimring car, or the Most car. Confirmation of the results. It's a win for Michael Smiddle from Jeffrey Ruffin in second place, but how close it was. And Guillaume de Flandre finishes in third place. Brian Krul's fourth, head of Justin Kuntz. Leonardo Colavito completed the top six. Ulysse Delso was seventh, head of Davide De Lara. Stefano Gustavalle and Chris Ricard finishes in 10th place. So those are the 10 automatic qualifiers for the main championship race. Roy Hendricks, Francisco Garisto, Luca Caniore, Aurelien Dillier, Michael Niemas, Ricardo Alita, Gordon Barnes, and Ruben Garcia will all have to fight it out in the last chance qualification race. So the cars are gridding up for our final heat. Joining me in live commentary is Michael Smiddle. Michael, congratulations. You might have dropped to third when the lights went out, but what a fight to finally take the lead with only a couple of corners to go.
Yeah, it was quite crucial to actually overtake someone, because as we know, the track is quite narrow, so it is difficult to overtake. But yeah, I'm happy that in the end it worked out in this heat. But yeah, the main complication was in the qualifying, because I totally screwed it up. So it should have been a pole, so it could make life easier.
It's the format with qualifying, is that you only get 2 laps. So you said you made a mistake on one lap and then didn't nail the second one. How did it work?
Well, basically, if you didn't nail the first lap, then you are pretty much done, because the tire physics is quite strange. So yeah, when I entered the first corner of the first lap, I had a massive oversteer, so I tried to cool down the tires. But yeah, in the second lap, it was just about compromise and at least getting into the 5.
You got one of your regular competitors in esports and sim racing, Pablo Lopez, joining the grid for this one. But of course, he's representing Circuit Ricardo Tormo. You're representing Most.
Yeah, it is. I was quite surprised that he entered this race. But yeah, looking forward for some battles.
Well, we'll let you get ready for the main race. The cars are not that far off starting this one. So congratulations, Michael, on the win. We'll see what you can do in the main race. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
There we go. So there's our heat winner from heat number 2. And for this one, it is Pablo Lopez, who sits on pole position, another one of our pro sim racers. He was in the 2012 Nissan Gran Turismo Academy and was one of the finalists in that. Alan Day is lining up alongside him at the wheel of the Monster Energy PK Car Sport Chevy on the outside of the front row of the grid. Vladimiros Tioitsis is on row number 2 with Andreas Jochumsen, and Giorgio Maggi and Maren Kremers sit there on row number 3. Now remember, again, same format, 10-minute race, only the top 10 go through automatically into the main race. Everybody else thereafter heads into the last chance qualification race, which is the next race that will be coming up after this one that we're about to start. So red lights on the gantry, the lights go out, and Pablo Lopez gets a good run heading up towards Paddock Hill Bend for the first time. Alan Day's on the outside line as they head up towards turn number 1. And as they turn through the corner, a little bit wide there for Maren Kremers, goes all through the gravel trap. It looks as though Max Palumbo has gone through the gravel trap for Solaris Motorsport as well. But I think that was largely a few cars through the gravel, but nobody really making contact with anybody else at this stage. A little bit of a grassy moment, though, for Lopez, though, heading in towards Druids has meant that he must have locked the brake, because I don't think there was any contact between himself and Alan Day. He slithered off and ran a little bit wide and has now dropped down into 9th position in the early stages of this one. This is going to have to be a bit of a recovery drive from him. So Alan Day leads the race at this stage. The double former NASCAR Whelen Euro Series champion Alan Day, who has won heats, but that was quite some time ago now when we saw Alan Day win a heat. That was back at Brands Hatch on the Indy circuit for round 1 of the championship. Giorgio Maggi sits there in 6th position. He's got Gustav Bregen sitting, Berggren, I should say, sitting ahead. Let's just have a quick look at Pablo Lopez. Yeah, just too late on the brakes, snatched the wheel, went through the gravel trap up there at Druids Corner, and by the time he got the car pointing back in the direction of where it needed to be heading, downhill towards Graham Hill Bend, everybody had just gone through. So it was, too late on the brakes on cold tyres or cold brakes. Gustav Berggren, Swedish driver, sitting there in 5th position, ahead of Giorgio Maggi, Lorenzo Marcucci, Scott Jeffs, then Pablo Lopez looking to try and work his way back through the order. Has he got the inside line on the Brack Chevy? No. The Ford still sits behind in the hands of the Spaniard, but he's going to have another good little nibble here on the brakes up towards Druids Corner, where he made that mistake on the lap prior, and he's through this time ahead of Scott Jeffs and just gives him a little bit of a nudge to push him wide coming out of the corner. Giorgio Maggi is the next target, who almost ran wide as well that time at Druids Corner. So Pablo Lopez now for Circuit Ricardo Tormo, Fordzilla gaining a further place, and now looking to see what he can do. Great fight going on for 3rd, 4th and 5th place. Maren Kramers flighting away with Vladimiras Tjoitsis, 2 of them absolutely together. Tjoitsis had his best run of the season, I think, was it last time out at Indianapolis, where he featured highly. Maren Kramers, though, just having run wide there, and now that's going to put Tjoitsis up into 3rd place, Berggren up into 4th, Marcucci and Giorgio Maggi and Lopez all go through as well. So Maren Kramers now down into 8th position, and in fact, still in 8th place. I thought Scott Jeffs had gone through, but no, that is Pablo Lopez's blue car. Scott Jeffs is the blue car that's behind it. So down the straight in towards the braking area for Clark Curve they'll go. Maren Kramers looking to try and make sure he doesn't lose any further places. So down into 8th position from what was 3rd. The last of the drivers in the automatic qualification spots at this stage is Sebastian Bleekemolen at the wheel of the Team Bleekemolen number 69 Ford. Driver with multiple championship wins in the Clio Championships out in Europe and in the Benelux countries as well, but raced with us in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series in 2019. He was 16th in what is nowadays known as EuroNASCAR Pro. Lorenzo Marcucci we're looking at. Great aerial shot of Lorenzo Marcucci's car heading down the Cooper Straight up towards the left-hander at Surtees, that then brings them onto the Grand Prix loop. But he's coming under enormous pressure here, Marcucci, from Giorgio Maggi, who needs to attack and defend at the same time because he's got Pablo GoPro Lopez sitting right behind him. So a good fight is this. Down the Derek Minter Straight up towards Westfield Bend. So another corner that's very easy to run wide coming out of that corner, then downhill and up towards the daunting left-hander. Let's just have a quick look what happened here. Sven van Laere heading up towards Paddock Hill Bend and just managed to overtake a car on the way into the corner, but then loses it on the way out, unfortunately, Sven van Laere. So driver who raced with us just at the Zolder finals last year, but has been a regular in this esports series. The 46-year-old has left himself a chunk of work to do again now. So Giorgio Maggi back over the start-finish line, onto the brakes, in towards the right-hander at Paddock Hill Bend, looking to try and hold back the aspirations of Pablo Lopez. Been in the background for Maren Kramers, I think that was, that had a spin just at the background of Paddock Hill Bend, so that's going to drop him ever further away, and he needs to recover and make sure he hangs on to a place inside the top 10. But 5th, 6th and 7th all together at this stage, with 4th place even, the light green car of Lorenzo Marcucci not that far ahead. Marcucci, Berggren, Maggi, Lopez as we go on board with the Swiss driver, runner-up in EuroNASCAR 2 2019. Speed builds onto the brakes in towards Hawthorne Bend. Now Maggi gets a little bit sideways. That's the opportunity that Pablo Lopez has been looking for, and without any effort at all, he's able to put the Fordzilla Ford through and gains the place over Giorgio Maggi, who just carried too much speed in towards Hawthorne. The car washed out on the exit all over the curbs and slithered its way briefly onto the grass, but well controlled by Giorgio Maggi. But as soon as the door was open, the opportunity was taken for Pablo Lopez, who is now putting Gustav Berggren under pressure and has the inside line coming up towards Clark Curve. So another place gained for the Spaniard, 2 more places on that lap for the Ford. And we've now got just 4 minutes of the race to go. So over the start-finish line comes Pablo Lopez. Remember, the top 10 automatically go through. Maren Kramers, who had a spin at Paddock Hill Bend on the previous lap in the background of the shot, still hung on to 10th place, because such was the gap between himself and the next of the cars that sat behind, which was Yevgeny Sokolovsky, that Sokolovsky couldn't catch up. But we have now got only a couple of laps to go in reality. Alan Day has really started to gap those behind. He now leads by 3.2 seconds from Andreas Jochumsen. Gustav Berggren, in the meantime, has lost a place there, as Giorgio Maggi was able to gain the advantage. So Maggi losing a place on the previous lap, gaining one back now. But this is a good little fight that's going on for 6th and 7th place. There's a good fight going on for 4th and 5th as well, as the progress of Pablo Lopez continues. Has he got the run on Lorenzo Marcucci? He has. Another place gain there for Lopez. We just saw him go through and take 4th place from the light green car of Lorenzo Marcucci. Giorgio Maggi in 5th. Gustav Berggren completing the next of the places. But back to our race leader, Alon Day, who is looking as though he is on for a win in heat number 3 here. He won his heat at Daytona on the road course. He won his heat here at Brands Hatch on the Indy circuit earlier on in the season. And this would be his 3rd heat win. Andreas Jochumsen sitting there in 2nd position at this stage, and just needing to make sure that he doesn't overdrive the car there. Just almost dipped a wheel into the dirt there, did Jochumsen, who lies 10th in the championship standings. His best result in the main championship race has been a 5th so far, and that was at Watkins Glen. Vladimir Tjoitsis is on for a good result in 3rd place. That would see him in something like the 3rd row of the grid, wouldn't it? But he is getting caught by Pablo Lopez. Vladimir Tjoitsis' last lap he did was a 1 minute 29.4, half a second quicker was Pablo Lopez. And Lopez is at this stage about 2.5 seconds behind, so the rate of closure is not sufficient at this stage for Lopez to catch, let alone get past Vladimir Tjoitsis. But of course, Brands Hatch, as we're hearing from all of the drivers, very difficult circuit. You make a small mistake and it can have fairly large consequences. Not much runoff. You could soon be into the barriers, and that's just by putting maybe half a wheel on the grass if you're not careful. Using all of the curbs there, grabbing the apex and a bit more. Pablo Lopez representing Circuit Ricardo Tormo, who, as we heard earlier on in the broadcast from Gonzalo Gobert, who is the managing director of Circuit Ricardo Tormo, they were scheduled originally to be the opening round of the 2020 season. They will now have the honour of having the final championship round as and when we get running for real in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series, and that will bring us all the way through to the early part of December, the final championship round. So Pablo Lopez looking to uphold the honour of Circuit Ricardo Tormo and the Fordzilla Ford. At the moment, 4th place as a result of having led the race early on, but just snatched that break on cold brakes or cold tyres heading up towards Paddock Hill Bends, and a good recovery drive. Dropped him down into something like 8th position, so he's now back into 4th. He was nearly 3/4 of a second quicker than Vladimir Tjoitsis last time through, so the gap is coming down, but it's not coming down quickly enough because there's only 15 seconds to go, and that is not sufficient for any further laps after the one that they are on. Here comes Giorgio Maggi looking to try and grab 5th place from Lorenzo Marcucci, the light green car sitting ahead. Lorenzo Marcucci, can he hang on to it, the Italian? He's got the very quick and rapid Swiss driver behind him, but then Giorgio Maggi makes a mistake all through the gravel. That is going to drop him down through the order, as Gustav Berggren then takes 6th place. Maggi drops to 7th. Scott Jeffs here is in 8th position. So just the 1 place lost for Giorgio Maggi. But Alan Day is on for a win here by the look of things. Over the start-finish line, it's a win for Alan Day in heat number 3 here at Brands Hatch on the Grand Prix circuit. Round 5 of the 2020 EuroNASCAR Esports Series. And Andreas Jochumsen will finish in 2nd place. Vladimir Tjoitsis finishes in 3rd position. Good drive that from the Cypriot driver. Pablo Lopez is in 4th place. 5th should go the way of Lorenzo Marcucci. It does. You can just see his light green car going through the gravel at the first corner, but he'd already taken the checkered flag. And then Gustavo Berggren finishes in 6th place. Giorgio Maggi in 7th. Scott Jeffs in 8th. Vittorio Garelli and Malin Kramers in 9th and 10th places respectively. Any other drivers thereafter again will all have to fight it out in the last chance qualification race that will be coming up very, very shortly. So Alan Day is going to quit back out of the game and will hopefully very shortly join us in live commentary. But before he does that, we should be able to confirm the results of heat number 3 for you very shortly. Remember, we haven't awarded a single championship point as yet this evening in the EuroNASCAR Esports Series, in conjunction with iRacing and with support from i.can.com and the Sim Racing League. But we've got one more 10-minute last chance qualification race to come up, and only then in the main championship race will we be awarding any championship points, double points, remember, this evening as well. Alan Day claims the win for PK Carsport. Andreas Jochumsen is in second, ahead of Vladimir Tsioitsis, who's there in third place. Pablo Lopez was fourth, Lorenzo Marcucci, Gustav Berggren, Giorgio Maggi, Scott Jeffs, Vittorio Garelli and Maren Kramers complete the top 10. So those automatically qualify for the race there on after. Advet Dioda, Max Palumbo, Chris Lehman, Yevgeny Sokolovsky, Sebastian Bleekemol and Sven van Lara and Fabio Spatafora all will have to fight it out in this race that is already lining up on the grid now as well. So this is the last chance qualification race that's coming up now. Remember, only the top 6 from this will go through to fight it out. Alex Sedgwick on pole position for this one, finished 11th in his heat, of course, as did Roy Hendricks, who sat alongside. So he's on the outside of the front row of the grid. Advait Dioda and Alain Muscaron on row number 2. And then it's going to be car number 142, which is Francesco Garisto, and Max Palumbo on row number 3. So remember, yeah, just the top 6 that will go through. So they head off on their final formation lap. Alan Day is any second now going to join us in live commentary, and then we can grab a quick word with our Heat 3 winner, Alan Day, who missed joining us for one of the championship rounds. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it for one of the championship rounds, and therefore that has sort of cost him a few championship points. But he does join us in commentary. Alan, congratulations on the heat win, 8th in the championship standings coming into this race, with ground to make up, because unfortunately you weren't able to join us at Zandvoort, were you?
Yeah, it's hard without a joker race that they take 1 point of one race. But anyway, all I can do is concentrate on the current race and trying to do the best I can.
Pablo Lopez made it nice and easy for you on the first lap, whether it be cold brakes or cold tyres. He sort of slithered off from the lead, and from there was no looking back really for you, was there?
Yeah, I realized that this track is so hard to pass, so probably one of the only options is at the start of the race. He made a tiny mistake, but I was already diving in. And since then, it was just managing the tires as good as.
You know, as a 2-times champion in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series, how important it is to score points when we get to semi-finals and finals. You'll be looking for a good haul of points this evening.
That's the main goal, you know. I won the championship from the play of the season, so I know how important it is. Today, it's mainly about surviving. You will be in the top 5, top 5, top 6. It's already enough to gain some good points and continue to the next round. And
you'll have Andre Castro directly ahead of you, because you'll start 3rd in the final. He'll start 1st. He gave you a bump and run at Daytona. Is it payback time for him?
It's still surprising.
We'll let you go, Alan, because the race is about to start. So we'll chat to him later on. Well done to Alan Day, our winner of our 3rd heat. Alex Sedgwick gets a good start in this consolation race. Remember, just 10 minutes, just the top 6 go through. Roy Hendricks slots himself through into 2nd position. Advait Dioda is able to get himself ahead of Alain Muscaron for 3rd position. Muscaron might lose out here to what is going to be the car that squeezes his way through, and that's Francesco Garisto. So he did lose out. Garisto gaining 2 places there, actually, and is now up into 3rd place, ahead of Alain Muscaron, ahead of Advait Dioda. So it's been a good start from Francesco Garisto. He brings that number 142 car, representing 42 Racing, up into the top 3 places. Remember, top 6 go through, and at the moment in 2nd place is Max Palumbo for Solaris Motorsport, but under pressure from Luca Caniore for Cal Racing. So the media man for Solaris Motorsport, under pressure here from the team manager for Cal Racing, and it looks as though Luca Caniore almost giving him a shove there as they head down the Derek Minter straight. Palumbo a little bit sideways going through Westfield Bend. Caniore also sideways, which loses him a position there as somebody else is able to squeeze their way through. That was Gaspar Donovsek, I think, there that was able to grab the place. So Palumbo 6th, Donovsek 7th. Caniore now down into 8th place. Palumbo runs wide, though, coming out of Sterling's, and he's going to rejoin the circuit directly behind his teammate there. So that was Nave Talor that was able to go through. We're looking at Santu Vuxatoria, who is running down in 10th position at this stage, back towards the front, and Roy Hendricks continues to sit there in 2nd place, but already 2.5 seconds up the road is Alex Sedgwick in this one. Remember, just the top 6 go through, and now Francisco Garisto dives up the inside, heading in towards Druid's Corner. He moves up into 2nd place. Roy Hendricks drops down into 3rd position with Alan Muscaron there in 4th place. Advait Dioda still in 5th place, and 6th at the moment is Gaspar Donovsek. So here's the last of those drivers that is going to qualify for the main championship points scoring race that will be coming up directly after this one. But remember, it's not just a 10-minute race like all the others have been, the heats of this one. It will be a 30-minute race, so tyre conservation will come into it, and staying out of trouble around what is a technically very difficult Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. Alex Sedgwick knows this track well from his racing exploits in the UK, done a bit of Ginetta Junior racing as Alex Sedgwick in the past, a bit of Clio racing, did some Formula 4 racing in France as well a season or so ago. Not many, but did them, and has been a regular in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series for the last couple of seasons. On to the brakes, in towards Clark Curve comes Sedgwick, the Brax Racing Ford out front and leading the race. A couple of cars have headed to pit lane. Sebastian Bleekie-Molen and Sven van Lara are both showing us in the pit lane at this stage with some sort of issue, or maybe a penalty that they've been awarded. We'll have to wait and see and bring you confirmation of that, but that's going to drop them way down through the order and rule out any possibility of them heading into the main race. Keep an eye on the battle, though, that's going on for 3rd and 4th and 5th position. Roy Hendricks, Alan Muscaron, Advait Dioda. I think in the background I saw through Paddock Hill Bend a mistake for Gaspar Donovsek, who was running in 6th place. I think he ran wide again there coming out of Graham Hill Bend, so he's now falling into the clutches of the 7th and 8th place cars, which are Nave Talor and Gordon Barnes, so in danger of losing out on automatic qualification. In fact, he has done. Nave Talor, the Israeli, has gone through here, so Gaspar Donovsek, with a couple of grassy moments now, has dropped out of automatic qualification, and Nave Talor has gone through. The 18-year-old double former Israeli karting champion, finished 14th in EuroNASCAR 2 last year in his debut season within the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series, but is looking to see whether he can hang on to that position after the mistakes that Gaspar Donovsek has had. Then maybe still a bit of dirt and dust just to work off his tyres. Bit of damage to the front end of Nave Talor's car by the look of things, bearing the scars of whatever's happened in the first few laps, but we're almost now at the halfway point of this race. Alex Sedgwick all of the time just increasing the lead margin that he's got. He's about 7 seconds up the road now from Francisco Garisto in 2nd place, but this is a great little fight for what is 6th and 7th position. Onto the brakes in towards Paddock Hill Bend, where the circuit really drops away, off camber as well. So easy to get sucked into a mistake, braking too late going into the corner and ending up in the gravel on the way out of the corner. But both Talor and Donovsek are wise to that and are able to just maintain track position. A little bit of a wiggle coming out of Druids as Donovsek just pressed the throttle pedal a bit too loud. Here's the fight now for 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th all together. Francisco Garisto under pressure from Roy Hendricks, who's got Alan Muscaron not too far behind at the wheel of his white and light blue machine, the second of the two sort of with light blue flashes to it, and the yellow car at the back is the London-based Indian Advait Dioda. So fight's raging, but no such worries for this man here, Alex Sedgwick, who is well and truly out front by 7 3/4 seconds. Now, this has been a dominant performance, but remember, a win in this will only see him line up 31st on the grid, because this is the last chance race. Alain Mouscron, is he going to have a look here to try and steal the place on Roy Hendricks? Yes, he does. The two of them absolutely together round through Stirling's. Advert Yoda's not too far away, so the car of Alain Mouscron couldn't quite make it stick there, unfortunately. So he's going to have to mount another challenge to try and work his way through. Alain Mouscron is the reigning EuroNASCAR Club Challenge champion from last year. And if we look back at his car from Roy Hendricks, you can see that he is under pressure again coming out of Paddock Hill Bend. Mouscron's got the inside line this time, and surely now he's going to go through. Yeah, up into third. Advert Yoda would dearly like to follow him through and might just do that, Dioda, but he's now on the outside line for the next corner and has made it stick. So Dioda now up into fourth place, and Roy Hendricks, who was third at the start of that, going into towards Paddock Hill Bend, now finds himself down in fifth position. But that's still automatic qualification for the main race, and that is what is important. Kasper Donovsik now has dropped a further place. He was in seventh, wasn't he? But Gordon Barnes now has gone through and has taken that place away from him. Gordon Barnes, who is intending on racing in the EuroNASCAR Club Challenge in 2020. He's an engineer and IT consultant, races late models as well. Did a bit of Formula V in the UK many years ago, did Gordon Barnes. So he is seventh and is still one place away from automatic qualification. He would need to catch up with this lot here if he wants to try and automatically qualify. Alain Mouscron ahead. We ride on board with Francisco Garisto for 42 Racing. Is Ford looking forwards at the Chevy that lies ahead. Ford leading, Chevy second, Ford's in third, Chevy fourth, Ford in fifth, Chevy sixth, and then it's Chevys in seventh, eighth, ninth and 10th places. The next Ford is down in 12th, which is Michael Sturman, and the leading Toyota is Aurélien Dillier, who's down in 13th position currently. Onto the brakes, in towards Druids. Francisco Garisto looking to try and hang on to third position. Advert Yoda makes a mistake, heading down in towards Graham Hill Bend. Bags of opposite lock to try and keep the tail end in check, and he avoids the spin. He's going to rejoin directly ahead of Roy Hendricks, moves across the circuit to try and block Roy Hendricks. Roy Hendricks with two wheels on the grass gathers up a brief sideways moment. So fourth, fifth and sixth all now together as Nave Tallow wants to join in the fun here as well. Now these drivers will fight. What they can't afford to do is trip over each other, because each one of them is at the moment going to automatically qualify to get through into the main championship race. Remember, it's only the top six that go through, and these are the cars in fourth, fifth and sixth position. That car there in seventh, Gordon Barnes, is catching them as well. Last lap from Gordon Barnes, 1:30.3. That is, quicker than the cars ahead. So he needs to keep pushing on here, does Gordon, to give himself half an opportunity to try and see whether he can fight it out for the championship points race, which is coming up very shortly. Through Stirling's Bend, then press the accelerator pedal, shift back up through the gears again as you head in towards Clearways and on towards then the right-hander at Clark Curve that completes the 2.433 or 3.916 kilometre lap here at Brands Hatch on the Grand Prix circuit. Remember, it's been the UK home of the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series since the first ever visit here in 2011. And it's great that it's featured twice on the EuroNASCAR Esports Series calendar in conjunction with iRacing, with support from i.can.com and SimRacingLeague.it. Here for round one on the Indy circuit, here for round 5, the first of the semi-finals on the Grand Prix circuit. And Gordon Barnes now has fully caught up with Nave Talor. We look back from Nave Talor, desperate to try and hold on to the final place that will see him through into the main championship race coming up, but needs to watch out. Gordon Barnes, I thought he was going to try around the outside there briefly, but now he might try the cutback. Nave Talor will surely hug the right-hand side of the circuit here, which means that Gordon Barnes will get the slipstream, but he's going to have to try it around the outside at Hawthorne if he wants to make it stick. The clock has ticked to 10 minutes. They are now on the last lap of the race. Alex Sedgwick is going to claim a dominant victory by something like 11.5, 12 seconds. Advert Diodar's made a mistake as well by the look of things there, so he nearly threw 5th place away. Roy Hendricks is up to 4th. Diodar's there in 5th place, and then Nave Talor makes a mistake which allows Gordon Barnes to go through. So Barnes now into automatic qualification, and Nave Talor looks as though he is done for the night. He was in 6th, he's down to 7th. Sedgwick claims the win and will go through to line up 31st on the grid for the championship race that's coming up in a few moments' time. Alain Mouscron will go through and finish in 2nd position, the reigning EuroNASCAR Club Challenge champion from last year. Francisco Garisto comes through and finishes in third place. Congratulations to him. Roy Hendricks will finish in fourth, just ahead of Advert Yoda, who's there in fifth position. Sixth will go the way of that man there, Gordon Barnes, who left it late in the race to automatically qualify, but well done for him for just managing to sneak through on Nave Talor in the end. But Alex Sedgwick celebrating as he slides the car around the circuit. We heard from him after his heat, say a driver who is busy with a mixture of coaching and has been doing a heck of a lot of esports racing, so he will head into the pit lane, and it's not going to be that much longer before we already start to see cars gridding up for the 30-minute championship race that will be coming up very, very shortly indeed. So we will wait the cars to grid up. I'm going to see whether Gianluca Guille, who still joins me in commentary, wants to pitch in here. We've seen 3 heats already, Gianluca, and a last chance qualification race, and despite the fact it's a technical circuit and it's tight and twisty, they've all been fairly clean.
Well, that's a surprise, especially for the last chance qualifier, which is always, usually is the most exciting race and full of unexpected things. Well, this one, it was pretty clean. Very good racing. Brands Hatch is always a great track, and I'd like now to see our cars going on the Grand Prix circuit in real life. But that's, the Indy circuit is great, the American Speedfest is great, but the Grand Prix circuit is also very good.
I know we just confirmation of the results then. Alex Sedgwick from Alain Mouscron, Francisco Garisto, Roy Hendricks, Advert Yoda, and Gordon Barnes are the 6 cars that go through to fill up grid slots 31 through to 36 for this final race for Nave Talor, Santi Vuxatorian, Chris Lehman, and Mikael Niemels, and everybody thereafter. They're out for the evening. They will not be scoring any championship points. You mentioned, it would be great to see the cars, Gianluca, here at Brands Hatch on the Grand Prix circuit. I know we were hoping at some point that we might have had Jerome Galpin join us, but the calendar has been set for or confirmed for some of those. Brands Hatch still trying to see whether we can slot in a date for the reorganisation of that one, I gather, at the moment.
Yeah, at the moment conditions are not allowing the event to take place as of now, but of course both organizations, both the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series and MSV, are looking to reschedule the event in the next few months. Hopefully we will make it, and hopefully things will get better and we will be back at Brands Hatch soon.
And if people want to keep track of that, EuroNASCAR.com, isn't it?
Yep. Of course, and of course follow us also on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, everywhere.
Thanks, Gianluca. So there we go, Gianluca Guille, who is one of the media team for the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series and has been putting in, I've got to say, a heck of a lot of work to the EuroNASCAR Esports Series in conjunction with iRacing, with support from i.can.com and SimRacingLeague.it. So we are on to now the final race, the championship race, the first semi-final, the double points race. So remember, leading the championship is Lasse Sorensen for DF1 Racing. His number 66 car goes off what is the second row of the grid. Lying second in the championship standings is a car that will be on the third row of the grid. That is Jeffrey Rufen for Hendricks Motorsport. His number 307 car is one to watch out for. Third in the championship standings is the number 50 Hendricks Ford of Loris Hazemans, the reigning EuroNASCAR Pro champion. Well, he's on the 5th row of the grid, so he's got a bit of work to do. And fourth in the championship is the car of Andre Castro that starts on pole position. Alongside him is Mikael Smidl, who has already claimed a race win so far this year. We have had 5 races if we include the prologue event, and each one of the main races has been won by a different driver. The prologue event at Daytona, Andre Castro claimed the win. Brands Hatch, the Indy Circuit round 1 of the championship for real, Guillaume de Flandre claimed the win. We went to Watkins Glen, Mikael Smidl on the outside of the front row claimed the win. Zandvoort was Jeffrey Rufen, and last time out at Indianapolis it was Lasse Sorensen. 5 different drivers have won the 5 different main races that we've had. Could we make it? 6 out of 6 in this one. We'll find out over the course of the next 30 minutes. Keeping your nose clean is going to be key. Making sure that you don't overwork the tyres is going to be key. And a chunk of luck, I would imagine, will need throwing in there as well. Alan Day on row number 2, the Monster Energy Chevy for PK Car Sport, has yet to win a race, a main race so far this year, but already there's contact. Alan Day is off the circuit. Oh, crumbs, they are all over the place with cars heading here, there and everywhere, and very few cars making it through the first corner. Andre Castro made it through, Mikael Smidl made it through, and Andreas Jochumsen is up into 3rd place. Tobias Dauenhauer is 4th, and Loris Hazemans from 10th is up into 5th. Jeffrey Rufen has dropped down through the order, but cars all tangled up in it, included Alan Day, Francisco Garisto got tangled up. I saw Henry Tuamala going sideways as well. I think Alessandro Brigatti was caught out as well. So we had a big one at Watkins Glen on the run up to turn number 2. We didn't even get to the start-finish line before we had the big one here at Brands Hatch, but that won't worry Andre Castro, who is out front and leading the race. Jeffrey Rufen under pressure here as Lorenzo Marcucci tries to draw himself alongside, has the inside line for Hawthorne, and is able to go through and grab the place. A little bit squirrely on the way out of the corner, though, so the Ford and the Chevy still side by side down the Derek Minter straight, but it is just the Italian for Club Motorsport that's able to go through and ahead of the Hendricks Ford. Puff of smoke from Jeffrey Rufen as he went in towards the part of the circuit there, and problems for Jeffrey Rufen. Saw the puff of smoke, and all of a sudden his car is heading off to the side of the circuit. So Jeffrey Rufen is not going to score many championship points here, and that's a huge disappointment for the driver who is 2nd in the championship standings. He's tumbling down through the order. I'd imagine maybe fluff the downshift and buzz the engine, one would have thought there potentially. Andre Castro leads the race. Mikael Smidl in 2nd position. Both of these have been winners of main races so far this year. Remember, Castro won the prologue event. Mikael Smidl won at Watkins Glen. And you can see just how close the pair of them are. They are 1.5 seconds ahead of the 3rd place car. And they're only on lap number 2. So Pablo Lopez is working his way up through the order at the wheel of the circuit. Ricardo Tulmo Fordzilla machine running in 6th position at the moment. He's got the battered car of Tobias Dauenhauer ahead of him. That's going to be slowing the car down. The aerodynamics of Dauenhauer's car won't be working with the damage modelling in iRacing. There's no resets either on this one. You can have a fast repair, but you've got to go into the pit lane to do that, and then that's going to drop you ever more down through the order. So Dauenhauer is just going to have to cope with that and try and drive as wide a Ford as he possibly can. But already having been picked off by Pablo Lopez, you can see already the Spaniard is starting to disappear up the road, and there's not a great deal at all that the German can do about it. Back towards the lead of the race. Remember, in the heat, Mikael Smidl left it very late on to grab the lead, literally with just 3 or 4 corners to go. I'm sure in the early stages of this one, he might be just quite comfortable to sit behind Andre Castro and work out where, if anywhere, he's got an advantage, or where, if anywhere, he might have an opportunity. Just showing the nose of the car to Castro, heading in towards the braking area for the 3rd time up at Druids. Chevy 1st, Toyota 2nd, Chevy 3rd. The first of the Fords is Loris Hazemans, who sits there in 4th. Quick replay. Well, here's Alan Day. Oh, and then almost got tangled up in another incident that Scott Jeffs was having with somebody as he went up towards Surtees corner. I think that was Francisco Garisto, who is also carrying huge amounts of damage. You can see all of those cars. Well, Alan Day is down in 14th position at this stage. The driver who has gained more places than anybody starting position to current position is Simon Palat, down in 11th place. So he has gained 14 places at this stage. Replay also of contact being made there. Scott Jeffs and Roy Hendricks getting together, I think that was. My computer was struggling graphically to show me exactly what was going on there, but back to the lead. Andre Castro under this pressure still from the Toyota Camry, representing Autodrome Most Car Show, in the hands of Mikael Smidl. Very successful sim racer Mikael Smidl, looking to try and put the American under pressure. But for the moment, there's no chink in the armour for the 21-year-old Andre Castro, who still continues to lead up towards Paddock Hill Bend, bounces over the curbs, beautifully grabs the apex. Smidl sideways coming out of the corner. The tail end of the Toyota nearly caught him out there. But a bit of arm twirling, a dab of opposite lock, brings it back under his spell once more, but that's cost him vital tenths of a second. Thankfully, it was a few tenths of a second he could afford, because Andreas Jochumsen is sufficiently far away. Down into 7th place is Lorenzo Marcucci. Now he should be able to gain on the car that lies ahead of Tobias Dauenhauer. Quick replay again of the start. Let's just have a look. And yeah, Alan Day just got tangled up. Vladimir Choitsis got turned around. And then we saw Henry Tuamala getting caught up as well. Several cars all making contact with each other. And I think it was Alan Day getting sideways. Whether there was contact that caused that, I couldn't quite tell from that angle. But we certainly saw the Monster Energy Chevy pitching from the right-hand side of the circuit over to the left, and then a chain reaction thereafter. There goes Giorgio Maggi, another driver that is sporting damage. And that's Alessandro Brigatti that has been able to go through and ahead of him. Brigatti is now roughly back where he started by the look of things. So Alessandro Brigatti started in 13th place, is now back to 12th, again with a bit of damage, only light damage to his car. 9th place is Brian Crowells, who started in 11th position. He's under pressure from Lasse Sorensen, who is able to go through there. So Lasse Sorensen, the championship leader, taking the place over Brian Crowells. Both of them again with damage. Remember, it's double points as well, which means at the moment, doing the maths, well, Mikael Smidl is not doing the full championship. He lies second to Andre Castro, who is 4th in the championship standings. Andreas Jochumsen has not been a driver we have seen grab stacks of championship points over the course of the season. I'm just having a quick look for where he is in terms of the championship fight. He is 10th in the championship. His best result is a 5th at Watkins Glen. We know that Pablo Lopez is not doing the full championship. Loris Hazemans is down in 5th at the moment, so it's going to mean mathematically that Andre Castro, if he stays where he is and everybody else behind stays where they are, is going to be heading towards the championship lead, heading into semi-final number 2. See the damage to the front end of the Monster Energy Chevy there. Back to the race leaders. Mikael Smidl still trying to, if he can, unlock the door to the lead of the race, but at the moment there is no fraying to the stitching as far as Andre Castro is concerned. He still continues to lead. He just needs to make sure that he drives neatly. If you're neat and tidy here at Brands Hatch, you get off the corners well. It makes it, as we've heard from the drivers, it's difficult to overtake. So the key is, yeah, get your braking points right, grab the apex, get cleanly off it as well, and then it makes it so difficult for the car behind to try and take the lead of the race or take the place away. And that is desperately what Mikael Smidl will do. He'll still be working out. He won't necessarily be too worried yet. There's still, 23 minutes of the race just under to go. He'll be all of the time just trying to work out where there might be an opportunity, and he may well leave it until very late in the race, potentially, to take that opportunity, knowing full well that if he leaves it as he did in his heat late in the race, there's no opportunity for the driver that you just got past to try and return the favour. Another quick look, yeah, it was Alan Day was on the grass. He put his wheels on the grass on the right-hand side, couldn't see any contact at all. Justin Kuntz got involved as well, Henry Tuamala, as I'm saying, but yeah, it certainly looked as though from the shot I saw there, Alan Day just dipped his right wheels onto the grass at the same point as he'll have tried to accelerate as well. And that was what pitched him from one side of the circuit to the other. Fantastic stuff from Stefano, our producer, to pick up on that replay and show us exactly what happened there. Mikael Smidl still continuing to lead the race. Andre Castro still just managing to... Mikael Smidl still continuing in second place. Andre Castro still continuing to lead the race. And Lasse Sorensen is showing us out on the screen there, which is rather worrying for the man who was leading the championship. So is he going to drop down through the order? Yes, he is dropping down through the order. Didn't see what happened to Lasse Sorensen, but his car, I think, has had a problem somewhere, and that is the championship leader. So that will play beautifully into the hands of others. So there's Lorenzo Marcucci. This is another fight that's going on for 7th and 8th place. Leonardo Colavita in 8th position, heading around through Paddock Hill Bend. Lorenzo Marcucci hasn't as yet got himself ahead of Tobias Dauenhauer, so despite carrying all of that damage, the German's doing a really good job at the wheel of what remains of the Hendricks Ford. That will certainly be affecting the straight line speed of Tobias Dauenhauer, who is lying 5th in the championship standings, so he will want to score as well as he can. Here is Alessandro Brigatti. He is now looking to pick off Simon Palat. Simon Palat damage to his car, but Palat has still gained 15 places from where he started. started down in 25th position, did Simon Palat, and he is now in 10th place. Alessandro Brigatti having gone through and ahead. Look in his mirrors, who's behind? Alan Day and Brian Crowells. Lots of damage to the front end of the number 24 PK Car Sport Chevy in the hands of the 2 times former champion Alan Day. Secured the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series back in 2017 and 2018. He's not the only back-to-back champion that we've had in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series, because Luca Lasser managed to do that, and Ander Villarino managed to do that. Lasser in 2009, 2010. Villarino did it in 12 and 13. I say Alan Day did it in 17 and 18. Crowells in 12th place, closing in. Alan Day in 11th place, closing in as well. Both of them on Simon Palat, who is looking to try and see whether he can hang on to the coattails of the car that took a place away from him not too long ago. So we ride on board with Simon Palat, looking back at Alan Day. See the whole of the front end missing off the number 24 PK Car Sport Chevy. Simon Palat a little bit wide, heading around through Paddock Hill Bend, and that's opened the door to Alan Day to work his magic. Dives through up the inside. Just the one place loss for Simon Palat, who was able to close the door just in time on Brian Crowells. So Alan Day now into 10th place, back for the lead of the race, and Mikael Smidl now is really starting to show his hand. There was bump drafting almost there, bumper to bumper, as they came out of Hawthorne and up down the Derek Minter straight towards Westfield Bend. Again, you can see the tail end of the Toyota continually moving around as the hugely successful sim racer tries to close in on race leader Andre Castro, who has won a main race, but that was a non-championship scoring race. That was the prologue event at the Daytona Road Course. He would desperately like to grab his first win of the season, and he would therefore become the only driver to have won 2 main races, albeit one of them didn't grab him any points. If Smidl gets through, Smidl would be the only driver to have claimed 2 main races, and both of his would have come in championship scoring events. Now these two are nearly 5 seconds up the road from the 3rd place car of Andreas Jochumsen, who is on for potentially his best result of the season so far. Andreas Jochumsen, say, had a 5th place at Watkins Glen, but he's in 3rd at the moment. It would be his first podium in the main championship races of the season. Is he getting caught from the car behind? Not quite is the answer. Pablo Lopez in 4th place is not gaining, so battle for 1st and 2nd is without question still the one to concentrate on. Now Mikael Smidl runs wide there coming out of Hawthorne. That's going to drop him further away, and already you can see he was almost pushing Andre Castro round that same corner a lap earlier. He is now 1.4 seconds adrift as a result of that grassy moment. Justin Kuntz fighting his way back up through the order. Similar damage to the car that he's trying to hunt down, which is Garisto, that lies ahead. Francisco Garisto with the light blue and black and white flashes. It's just sort of white and light blue for Justin Kuntz that sits behind. But the Italian is just hanging on to it from the German at the moment. Now there is Stefano Guttavalle, and that is a rather worrying, the smoke that's coming from the tail end of his car. The Cal Racing number 388 surely is going to have to head towards pit lane before too much longer. Alan Day is still picking off places here. He's just got past Leonardo Colavita. Now let's have a quick look at this. Colavita heading down in towards Sterling's, and yeah, absolutely sending it up the inside. So late on the brakes from Alan Day. What a recovery drive from him. Should have lined up 3rd on the grid, and unfortunately by the time he'd got his car pointing back round in the right direction, that was what was left of the Monster Energy Ford, and he was down towards the tail end of the field. But he's now into 9th place. Carrying all of that damage doesn't seem to be hampering him. I'm sure it's a bit of a handful. I'm sure he is making good with the cards that he's been dealt in this one. But having gained another place there over Leonardo Colavita, the next car he's going to want to try and hunt down is Alessandro Brigatti, the 19-year-old Italian former kart racer. Certainly gaining. Alan Day's last lap, well, he had an overtake in there, so it was slightly slower than Alessandro Brigatti's, but we'll be able to pick up on the sectors that they are putting in. And Alan Day was quicker through Sector 1 and Sector 2 than the car ahead, so the gap from 8th to 9th is coming down. The gap from 1st to 2nd is also coming down as well, because Mikael Smidl has absolutely reeled back in Andre Castro. Remember, he made that small mistake heading round through Hawthorne Bend midway through the lap a couple of laps ago and dropped to 1.4 seconds adrift. Well, he's now down to 0.4 second adrift. A full second he has been pushing and charging. We're only at the halfway point of this race as well. The circuit will have continued to evolve and rubber up. They've also now started to get a fight brewing for third and fourth place, because car number 166, which is Andreas Jakobsen, the Danish driver, who was the Super GT Denmark Am champion last year and has been racing in Thunder Sports over there in the past, used to race in FIA CIK karts, has been caught by Pablo Lopez. Pablo, remember, is a pro sim racer. First started racing back in 2007 on the simulators, did Pablo Lopez. Only got his first steering wheel on his sim, though, in 2008, and has then subsequently gone on and been massively, massively successful. Won lots of national competitions and international competitions as well. I say he was a finalist in the 2012 Nissan Gran Turismo Academy. And Pablo Lopez is certainly doing a great job for Circuit Ricardo Tormo and the Fordzilla-backed Ford. Closing in all of the time on Andreas Jakobsen. Closing in on the lead again is Mikael Smidl and Andre Castro. That's down to, what, a tenth of a second, couple of tenths of a second at the best. So two cars fighting for first and second, a couple of cars now fighting for third and fourth. Can Jakobsen hang on to third place, though? Pablo Lopez all of the time closing in as we go on board with the Spaniard, looking ahead at the car that is at the moment in the final podium spot. Uphill onto the brakes in towards Druids, wide line taken in to try and triangulate the corner, get on the power nice and early. Onto the brakes in towards the left-hander at Graham Hill Bend. Very easy to run wide. Lots of curb taken on the way in, lots taken on the way out. Jakobsen was a little bit quicker, though, through that section of the circuit, so just managed to edge away by a very small amount from Pablo Lopez, who still continues to sit behind. So it's the Dane in third place, the Spaniard in fourth. Different nationalities we've got represented. An American leads, a Czech driver in second position. Andreas Jakobsen sitting there in third place is Danish. We've got a Spaniard sitting there in fourth place. Another different nationality sitting there in fifth place at this stage is going to be Loris Hazemans, who is from the Netherlands. So huge amounts of variety, and an Italian and a German thereafter, or German then Italian. So what's that? I think 7 different nationalities represented inside the top 7. If Alan Day can get himself ahead of Alessandro Bugatti, then the Israeli would go 8th, and that would be 8 different nationalities inside the top 8. So through and over the start-finish line they'll go. Here is Alessandro Bugatti, and he is getting caught. Yeah, Alan Day is reeling him in all of the way here. So at the moment we have got 7 different nationalities inside the top 7. If these two cars switch places, yeah, we'll have 8 different nationalities inside the top 8, such as the variety that we've got in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. And as for marques and manufacturers, well, Chevy leads, Toyota second, leading Ford, Pablo Lopez in fourth place, soon to be third potentially. Over the start-finish line goes Alan Day. You can see there on the graphic on your screen the places gained or lost. Francisco Garisto down in 18th place, but has gained 15 places from where he started. So at the moment he is on for the extra championship points for gaining most places, start place to finish place. And Alan Day does now go through ahead of Alessandro Bugatti and take over 8th position. So that's 8 different nationalities now inside the top 8. An American, a Czech, a Dane, a Spaniard, a Dutchman, a German, and now an Israeli. So 11 minutes of this first semi-final to go. Remember, double championship points in the semi-final here, same as it will be when we head to Charlotte on the Roval there in 2 weeks' time. The 30th of June is scheduled for playoff number 2, the second semi-final, and as for the finals, well, that's the 14th of July at Circuit Zolder. So Pablo Lopez still desperately trying to throw everything at it, including the kitchen sink, and this could be the opportunity here. He's got a good run on Andreas Jakobsen, but again, heading up towards Paddock Hill Bend, just can't quite do enough. The Ford still sits behind the Chevy, and these two are pushing really hard at this stage. There's traffic up the road which could come into play before too much longer. Hopefully that traffic will stay out of the way. They come down in towards Graham Hill Bend now through the left-hander. think it might be possibly Ulysse Delceau, is it, that might be the back marker, who, having been a former EuroNASCAR 2 champion, should, I would have thought, keep out of harm's way as these two fighting for the final podium spot come up towards him. As the Ford got a run on the Chevy this time as they head past the back marker, Ulysse Delceau stays neatly out of the way, which doesn't compromise Andreas Jakobsen equally as much. It doesn't really afford an opportunity to Pablo Lopez. So still for third and fourth place, they are rooted together. We're still rooted together for the lead of the race as well. There's only a tenth of a second between Castro and Smidl for the lead of the race, and only 10 minutes to go. Through Sheen Curve, up towards Sterling's, the left-hander. More traffic up the road that needs to be dealt with before too much longer. And hopefully that again will be traffic that will stay out of harm's way, as this pair can't afford to be compromised at this stage. Justin Kuntz has headed into the pit lane, the German, so he is dropping down through the order. As up towards the start of another lap goes our battle for what is third and fourth position. They're going to catch the back marker here. That's Roy Hendricks, who stays beautifully out of the way. The team manager for Hendricks Motorsport doesn't want to get involved in the fight for third and fourth position. So Andreas Jakobsen can breathe a sigh of relief that the traffic didn't cause him an issue, but he can't relax at all because he has still got Pablo Lopez right behind him. Out of Surtees, the speeds begin to build again as they head through Pilgrim's Drop and then up towards Hawthorne Bend. Very fast part of the circuit. Even the right-hander at Hawthorne is a quick corner to take. Beautifully through that corner there. There is a bit of damage to the front left corner of Andreas Jakobsen's car, I think, which doesn't seem to be affecting him at this stage. Again, sideways from Pablo Lopez as he just planted his right foot on the accelerator, and briefly the Ricardo Tormo Fordzilla back Ford started to step away but gathered the moment up. Now Lopez is still the leading Ford that we've got in the race. Can he get through into third place and make it all three manufacturers represented inside the top three? Because it's still Chevy first, Toyota second, then it's Chevy from Ford for third and fourth place. And Lopez has got another good run this time. This is as close as he's been up towards Paddock Hill Bend, but again can't quite do it. Andreas Jakobsen still sitting there in third place. Lopez might try and cut back on the exit of the corner, but Jakobsen was clean through Paddock Hill Bend and up towards Druids again. There's just no opportunity. Look at how close they are. Bumper to bumper for third and fourth place with 7 minutes now to go. We've still got a similar gap back first to second as well. Andre Castro still having to work hard to hang on to the lead of the race. There's traffic up the road as well, which is Francesco Garisto, who needs to stay out of the way here. He doesn't want to get involved in this battle, Francesco Garisto. He's gained 17 places, more than anybody, so he's on for an extra 8 championship points, and that is almost the opportunity that Mikael Smidl needs. Up towards Westfield Bend they'll go, and Smidl's now got the inside line. The traffic did come into play, and Mikael Smidl has finally unlocked the door to the lead of the race, and Andre Castro, through no fault of his own, just met the traffic in the wrong place at the wrong time, and that was all Mikael Smidl needed to go through and take up the lead of the race. Now, can he start to pull away? He has been sitting on the coattails of that Chevy from DF1 Racing for the vast majority of the race, and now he will look to try and pull away. Let's just have another quick look at what happened for the change for third and fourth place. Well, Lopez was quick coming out of Surtees' corner, had the outside line for Hawthorne. Andreas Jakobsen braved it out, as did Lopez. They were side by side through Hawthorne, which is a daunting place to overtake, and eventually the extra momentum was just enough. So a change from first to second for Andre Castro, and a change from third to fourth for Andre Jakobsen on exactly, or Andreas Jakobsen on exactly the same lap. So that has shuffled the order. All of the top four now in different positions than they were a few moments ago. Brian Krols sitting there in 12th position. Good recovery drive from him as well after the problems at the start of the race. He is now almost back where he started. He started in 11th, he's running in 12th. Simon Palat sits ahead, who started 25th and is running in 11th position. So he really has gained a raft of places, Simon Palat, but hasn't gained as many as Francisco Garisto, so isn't going to grab those extra 8 championship points if my workings out are correct. Although Caristo has just lost a place, I think, potentially to Bavo Fallon, so he can't afford to lose too many. It is quite close for who's gained more places, starting position, to where they currently are with 5 minutes to go. Brian Krols, who is a driver who isn't just competing with us in the NASCAR, the EuroNASCAR Esports Series. He's a team member for Brax Racing, usually on the number 91 car. He's one of the drivers who each week is the driver that sets the base setup for these cars. All of the drivers on a base setup which can't be modified. That gets tweaked based on feedback, and then Brian Crowells will sort of work with the organisers to again just modify the base setup, and again that gets issued to all of the drivers to test and gets sort of rubber stamped. And he is a driver that sort of puts in a fair chunk of time to make sure that every circuit we go to, the setup works for every driver, because as we say, we've got pro drivers, we've got sim drivers, we've got some part-time drivers, we've got some team members and members of the media as well, so it's a car that needs to suit everybody's driving skill and experience. We've now got 6 minutes to go, back for the fight for 11th and 12th place. Simon Palat still under pressure from Brian Crowells. And at the moment, there's no change in that order. However, since we had the change for the lead of the race, Mikael Smidl has started to pull away from Andre Castro. There's almost a second gap, first to second now, as you can see on your screens on the left. And Pablo Lopez has done exactly the same, pulled away to almost a second now from Andreas Jochumsen, who's there in 4th. And still on for his best result of the season as well. You know, it's a shame he's not in the podium places currently, but 4th is still 1 place better than 5th, and he's still therefore ahead of Loris Hazemans, who is the reigning EuroNASCAR Pro Champion, who is there in 5th place. Tobias Downhauer completes the top 6, his Hendricks Motorsport teammate. Here's Simon Palat. Now Brian Crowell's almost got a run there coming out of Surtees corner as they head onto the Grand Prix section of the circuit. Looking back from Pilat's Feed Vict Racing car at the Ford that lies behind, but Brian Crowell's couldn't quite manage to do it. Now here is number 141, Lorenzo Marcucci. Now he's been caught over the course of the last few laps by Alessandro Brigatti. This is for 8th and 9th positions. They head out of Sterling's corner, and let's just have a quick look. There is Marcucci, and right, Marcucci got ahead. Right, so it was a shuffle. Marcucci got ahead of Brigatti as a result of Brigatti having run wide at Hawthorne, so it was a shuffle in the order rather than one driver catching the other, as we saw on the replay. So Brigatti now has got to regather his thoughts again and try and crack on for the remaining 2.5 minutes of this race now. As for our race leader, Mikael Smidl, safely up the road now, 2 3/4 seconds clear of Andre Castro. Andre will be driving with his head. He ideally would have wanted to have claimed the win, but he will know that Mikael Smidl is not doing and hasn't done the full championship season. We might see him back out again, but probably not Mikael Smidl, which means that Andre Castro will still be outscoring all of his main championship rivals this evening. Because Lasse Sorensen, who is leading the championship, is going to finish way down through the order. Jeffrey Ruffin, who was lying second in the championship, had an engine blow and is going to not feature highly. Third in the championship, Loris Hazemans is only down in 5th place currently. And Andre Castro is 4th in the championship. Here comes Pablo Lopez. Now he is safely the best part of 2 to 2.5 seconds now up the road from Andreas Jochumsen. There you can just see Jochumsen in the background of the shot all of the time. Falling away is the DF1 Racing Chevy in the hands of the 23-year-old Dane. As for Brian Crowells, well, no let up at all in the pressure he's continually applying to Simon Palat. We're into the final minute of the race, so this one's going to have to sort itself out over the course of the next lap. Are we going to see Simon hang on to it? Might Brian Crowells have anything extra that he can throw at it? For the moment, though, it's still the 18-year-old Belgian at the wheel of his Feed Vict Racing Chevy, just ahead of the Brax Racing Ford of the Belgian driver. And it's been like that for several laps now. 25 seconds to go in the race, so our race leader, Mikael Smidl, will now be surely onto his final lap of the race. He might actually get over the start-finish line before we get to 30 minutes. No, 10 seconds to go. He will be on his final lap now, I'm sure. Mikael Smidl. No, he's just got over the start-finish line. He just managed to sneak another one out. Nip and tuck stuff as to whether he was going to do that, but he did by a matter of about 4 or 5 seconds, I think, Mikael Smidl. He couldn't afford to ease off because he's still got only 3 seconds gap towards Andre Castro. So Mikael Smidl on course to be the only driver to have won 2 main races over the course of the 2020 EuroNASCAR Esports Series, in conjunction with iRacing and supported from i.cin.com and SimRacingLeague.it. And as for our 2 experienced sim racers, Mikael Smidl and the other one, Pablo Lopez, it's a good evening for them, because they are 1st and 3rd currently. Down into 20th position, Bavo Fallon is fighting away with Francesco Garisto. You see both cars looking rather battered, to say the least, and even at this late stage of the race there's still places to be fought for. But for our lead driver, the car in the hands of Mikael Smidl, the Autodrome Most Car Show Toyota heads up towards Stirling's for the final time. It's going to be another win for Mikael Smidl, another win for Toyota, and will maximum championship points in the first of our semi-finals of the season, before we then head towards Charlotte and the Roval and Circuit Zolder for the second semi-final and the final. Mikael Smidl comes through and is going to claim the win. Scott Jeffs will just stay on the lead lap by the look of things and avoid going a further lap down. So it is a win for Mikael Smidl. Congratulations to him, scooping up the maximum 80 championship points. Remember, Autodrome Most is on the schedule as well of the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. We will be heading there when we get racing underway for real in 2020. Andre Castro finishes in 2nd position, but that's really important championship points for Andre Castro. And Pablo Lopez finishes in 3rd position. It's the first time we've seen him so far this year as well. Andreas Jochumsen, his best result of the season, finishes in 4th place. Loris Hazemans keeps his championship hopes alive with 5th position. Tobias Dauenhauer, loads of damage to his car, but still managed to finish in 6th place. And what a finish from Alan Day. It did look as though he just dropped the right wheels onto the grass, which pitched him from 3rd position on the grid across the front of everybody and caused that chain reaction. But either way, whatever caused that incident, what a recovery ride from him to finish in 7th place. Alessandro Brigatti is in 8th place, Lorenzo Marcucci and in 9th, and completing the top 10 is Leonardo Colavita. Still waiting for the last few cars to come over the start-finish line. Several of the cars looking battered and bruised, including this one here that's going to finish in 16th place, Alex Fontana. So he is going to come through and finish in 16th place. And Scott Jeffs did just stay on the lead lap. He did avoid on the run to the line going a lap down from Mikael Smidl. He comes over the start-finish line now to finish in the last of the finishing positions. So we've already got our drivers sitting and waiting for us in the broadcasters' waiting room. But I think before we grab a quick word with them, let's look back at some of the highlights when we went to Valencia in 2019. Well, confirmation of the results first then. Mikael Smidl claims the win. Andre Castro 2nd. Pablo Lopez was there in 3rd place, with Andreas Jochumsen and Loris Hazemans in 4th and 5th. Tobias Dauenhauer was 6th. What a recovery drive from Alan Day in 7th place. Alessandro Brigatti was in 8th place. 9th place was Lorenzo Marcucci, and Leonardo Colavita completed the top 10. Simon Palat was there in 11th place. I think he gained more places in the race than anybody else did. Brian Crowells was 12th. Giorgio Maggi, Vladimir Tioitsis and Fred Gabillon complete the top 15. Alex Fontana, Scott Jeffs and Davide Dallara bring us down into 18th position in that feature race there. 19th place was Maran Kramers. Bavo Fallon completed the top 20. Then it was Garisto, Hendricks, Muscaron, Kuntz, Delso, Tuamala, Gordon Barnes and Stefano Gustavaglia, who finished in 28th place. Guillaume de Fonda was 29th. The championship leader, Lassie Sorensen, only 30th position. Huge dent that will put in his championship hopes. Advert Yoda, Jeffrey Ruffin, Gustav Bergren, Chris Ricard, Alex Sedgwick and Vittorio Gorelli all caught out in the start line shunt at the beginning of that one. So before we grab a quick word with our drivers, let's see if we can now look back at some of the highlights from Valencia 2019. So there we go. Some of the highlights from our visit to Circuit Ricardo Tormo Valencia in 2019. And as we heard earlier on in the program, we will be back at Circuit Ricardo Tormo early December on the rescheduled calendar for what will be the final rounds of the 2020 NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. Well, we're now going to get the opportunity to chat to some of our drivers from that first semi-final that we've just seen. Remember, it's double championship points. So let's bring in our winning driver, the first driver to have won 2 main races over the course of the 2020 EuroNASCAR Esports Series. Congratulations, Mikael Smidl. You had to wait, a bit like in the heat, you had to wait for that opportunity to grab the lead of the race. And when you did, you pulled away towards the end.
Yeah, thank you very much. I had to wait many laps for the driver in front of me to make some mistake. I also did a few mistakes. I almost crashed the car in like half of the race, but then I tried to calm down and settle for a P2. But in the end, it worked out, and it feels amazing. Actually, it was quite exhausting experience on that track.
It looked as though Andre Castro sort of had everything under control, but then there was a back marker that you came across, which I think was just that little opportunity you were looking for.
Yeah, definitely, because it is quite difficult to overtake on this track. The track itself is quite narrow, and also the car is really big. So, so basically, if you position the car quite well, it is quite difficult to overtake it. So yeah, but you know, there was an opportunity, and then I take it. So it was good.
It's the second time we've seen you in the EuroNASCAR Esports Series. Both times you've joined us, you've won. Will we see you back for another semi-final, or maybe the finals at Circuit Zolder?
I'm not sure about Zolder because I need to talk to the...
Tengo el micro y la cámara en el otro PC,
need to...
y no tengo micro con ese PC.
With the organizers, but would be great to race at Zolder, but nothing is like set.
Well, thanks for joining us again. It's been great having you along, Mikael Smidl. Well done. Congratulations. You're the only driver to have won 2 main races. Well done.
Thank you very much.
So let's bring in the driver that finished in second position, Andre Castro. Andre, second place you finished in, but in terms of the championship, that's really good points because your main championship rivals were all behind you.
Yeah, it was a good race, and just to be up there with Mikael and Pablo Lopez, 2 really amazing sim racers. So I feel really proud I was able to go up there with those guys, and yeah, just really happy to be on the podium with two crazy sim racers. Thanks to Whelen, to Grapos, and to DF1 for everyone supporting me. Yeah, just had a good run there, and looking forward to the next race.
He was nearly always on your bumper. There was one point coming round through Hawthorne Bend where Mikael made a mistake and lost a second to you, but he was very quickly back with you.
Yeah, it's because my car bottomed out in turn 1 the next lap and just hit a little bit of a landmine, and I had to catch it. And that just allowed him to get back up to me. He was definitely faster than me. I mean, you saw he pulled away from me after he got by me, but I think we had a good run there defensively. I think we were going to be able to hold him off, but unfortunately, you have guys that really don't have a clue what they're doing out there, and they're getting lapped in 25th place, and they decide to race the leaders. So I don't know, as the 142 car, I don't really know his name, but you know, he really messed it up for us today. And I mean, I got to own up to some responsibility because I went wide when I was trying to pass him, but it's just hard when you have guys that are really trying to stay on the lead lap for no reason, because there's no cautions, so there's no way to catch back up to the tail end of the field, so there's really no point in racing the leaders. But yeah, good race to Mikael. He definitely deserved it, and yeah, like you said, good for the championship.
Well, really good for the championship. I haven't done the maths, but, you know, Lasse Sorensen, championship leader, won't score many points because he retired from the race. Jeffrey Ruffin, I think, probably missed a downshift and blew his engine and he retired. You finished ahead of Loris Hazemans, and they were the top 3 in the championship. You were 4th. So if we were to do the maths, you're going to be right at the sharp end. Yeah,
it's going to be exciting going on to the Roval. It's going to be one of my tracks I think I'm going to do really well at. Most of the tracks here in the U.S., I think I know them pretty well, and maybe some of the European guys don't know them as well. They're going to be super fast, but I think maybe on my end I have a little bit more experience at those tracks. So it's going to be interesting going to the Roval and seeing what these guys got, and doing the best we can.
Well, very well done on second place. Well done on the championship points, and yeah, we'll see once we get all the maths done as to where you sit. But you're going to be right up there. Well done.
All right. Thanks so much, Mark.
No problem. So that is Andre Castro. Let's grab a word with now the driver who joins us for the first time in the EuroNASCAR Esports Series, representing Circuit Ricardo Tormo Fordzilla. No stranger to esports racing, and therefore not surprising, Pablo Lopez finished in third position. Well done, Pablo. Third place. You had to work for it.
Oh dear, I did have to work, and I was amazed by the drivers here. They are really, really fast. I knew the top 10 would be something really hard, and starting from top 12, it was just like really, really difficult to overtake, and I had really good luck on the start because I could avoid all the mess. But it was hectic, the battle with Andreas. Kudos to him. It was really nice fight. I could overtake him on the outside on the right-hander, fast right-hander.
Yeah, and yeah.
Well, it was really amazing race.
I do want to just ask you about your heat, because it just looked as though either it was a cold break or a snatch tire on the first lap. You hung on to it, but dropped from the lead to 8th.
Can you repeat? Sorry.
Yeah, in your heat, you were heading up into into turn number 2
yes.
on lap number 1. Was it a cold break or cold tire?
No, the thing was that Alan just exited perfectly from turn 1 because I defended turn 1. I didn't have the traction exiting from turn 1, and he tried the dive on turn 2 and he did it perfectly. But I just lift a little bit the brakes, and then I was too fast into the hairpin and brake again, lock the tires and understeer into the corner, and just my PC just broke. It crashed. So I'm lucky that it crashed right now.
Will you be joining us for any further rounds? Will you be in the Circuit Ricardo Tormo Fordzilla car again for Charlotte or for Zolder?
It will be a pleasure. I don't know. Coty and the team will need to confirm it, but it will be a pleasure driving from the team Fordzilla, partnering with the Circuit Ricardo Tormo. It was an honor for me, and I'm really glad I could do a podium here.
Well, it's been great chatting to you. Well done, Pablo Lopez, and hopefully we'll get to chat to you again later on in the season.
And congrats to the winners, Mitchell, and it was a really nice fight in the top, I guess.
Thank you. So we've got one other driver that I do want to chat to, because we've just spoken to Pablo Lopez, who was very complimentary of Andreas Jochumsen, and Andreas now joins us in commentary. It looked like it was going to be a podium. It was fourth in the end, but that's still your best result of the season, Andreas.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I think that was pretty good. I mean, I was obviously a little bit lucky in the start because, yeah, I think Alan spun and took Lasse with him, and yeah, from there on, I really just tried to catch the guys in front, but yeah, it was a bit difficult for me. So yeah, I mean, I obviously didn't have the pace or the ultimate pace to be in the first 2 spots, and then I could see Pablo was really quick from behind. So yeah, it's a bit unfortunate that I couldn't have him behind me over the line, but.
You look at, you came into this evening lying 10th in the championship. As I say, that 5th place was your best result, but the drivers ahead of you, where they finished, most of them have finished behind you. So you're going to be gaining ground as we head into the next double points race at Charlotte in 2 weeks' time. Yeah,
I think looking at the championship standings, it was a good race for me this today. So yeah, I mean, looking at that point of view, it was quite good, I think. But for now, I don't focus on the championship. I just focus on I'm just taking one race at a time to do the best I can in each. And yeah, I mean, I'm pretty happy with P4 today, as I only had I think maximum 3 laps of practice before the race today. So I was pretty much straight into qualifying, which was a bit difficult. So yeah.
Well, really well done. We might see you on the podium, maybe at Charlotte. A bit more practice and you'll get there, because you've certainly had the pace.
Yeah, thank you. Hopefully, yes.
There we go. My pleasure. So that's the last of the drivers I think we're going to chat to this evening. But we have still got Gianluca Guida, who joins me in commentary. Gianluca, we've done it again. We've served up some fantastic racing, some pure esports racing in our first semi-final in the EuroNASCAR Esports Series. We'll do it all again in a couple of weeks at Charlotte on the Roval, won't we?
Yes, and it's gonna be they're gonna have even more pressure on them because the final is coming. There are double points on the line, and I really want to thank all the driver and you, Mark, and all the team behind this championship. Of course, Andre and everyone who is contributing to do this, because it's a really good show. And sometimes, I watch from outside. I watch on YouTube and I rewatch it, of course, the day after for our report and all the media stuff we do. And it's really, really a good show. And it's great to see all the drivers enjoying this, taking part and taking it seriously, and and also have a lot of fun and cooperate with each other to bring together a setup. It's really cool, man. It's really cool. It's a difficult time, but it was great. It is great to have this to still be able to race.
And final sort of discussion point is that there's a lot of esports going on at the moment. I personally think the EuroNASCAR Esports Series is very unique, in conjunction with iRacing, supported by i.cn.com and SimRacingLeague.it, because we're bringing together drivers from EuroNASCAR Pro, EuroNASCAR 2, the EuroNASCAR Club Challenge. We're bringing in team members and members of the media as well, and the All-Star team, all of those together. So it's very much a family feel to it, I think, which is what we do when we travel around Europe.
Exactly. Is the feeling is the same. It's the same atmosphere. We're just very far from each other, but it's like being in the paddock all together. We are a big family traveling, and even traveling virtually, you have the same spirit, and I think it's really unique.
Well, thanks for chatting to us. There we go, Gianluca Guida, who is one of the key members who are behind this series. We'll maybe hear a bit more from him when we head into the semi-finals and the finals. Remember, that was the first of our semi-finals, double points, which is really going to throw things open in the championship. We will return with more racing action 2 weeks tonight, the 30th of June. At Charlotte on the Roval circuit there, semi-final number 2. Until then, from myself, Mark Werrell, and the whole of the NASCAR Euro Series team, goodbye.